Hey, it's Romy. Welcome to the channel, Leo. Thank you so much for tuning in for your June 2021 soul story. So if you've got sun rising or your moon is in Leo, then you might find this general reading just helps give you a little bit of a heads up. It is going to be a powerful month for you. And with that comes a requirement for some powerful preparation. You know, your creative endeavors are going to be lit up so strongly. And I think there's going to be such a fast and rapid exchange of information, communication, and new contacts and connections that are coming through that could feel at times really overwhelming. But at the same time, it's going to be very, very productive for you. So we open up with the energy of the Fool. And I guess this invitation really from the universe to say, your life is your own. Are you ready to claim it? There's something about you just saying, okay, now I'm ready. Now I have been asking for what I've wanted for long enough, and I've settled for things that haven't really let me up. They haven't really showcased my true potential. They haven't really mirrored the things that are important to me. They haven't nourished my soul. And there's something about the definitive kind of culmination of that eclipse energy as we close out with the new moon solar eclipse in Gemini on the 10th of the month. The storyline that said, okay, where there are exits, I'm prepared to like firmly and finally close the door on something. And at the same time, like beautiful new connections and rushes of new energy coming in. Now, that is going to deliver a lot of high emotion. It may deliver a lot of conflict, but at the same time, it's really generative and it's really collaborative. And what we're looking at is this understanding from you that sometimes when we look at situations in our life and even within ourselves and we assess them as being deeply complex, we then attach to that this meaning that they are therefore hard or difficult and that we should try to avoid. And there's something about this month of June with that energy of the Fool guiding you, Leo, where you're like, you know what? Complex doesn't necessarily need to equal hard. It can equal exciting and challenging and thought-provoking. And I just have this energy of you just being able to kind of get stuck into something where perhaps in the past you've been sort of blindly on like an autopilot, just accepting, accepting rules, accepting the status quo, accepting the details or the dynamic or the kind of energy pattern that's existed in some aspect. And, as we're moving in all of this air energy, which does really light you up conversationally, creatively in Gemini season, we are ready to kind of move ourselves beyond that and really allow in a higher degree of kind of consciousness and divinity in the way that we're actually looking at ourselves and our lives. So it's a very deeply spiritual sort of approach that we're taking as we're preparing ourselves to take some really big, beautiful leap forwards in our life. And, as we welcome Mars in your sign on the 11th of the month, the energy and the drive and the wherewithal to kind of see something through is also going to be around you. Now, we look at the Six of Swords as this recognition of what you've had to let go of, and also the fact that you're still traveling on this journey. Both the Fool and the Six of Swords are on the move. They are putting their best foot forward and recognizing that there is, aspects that we need to release in order to create space and sort of seek out what more there is for us in our life. And I think that when you stop searching for the understanding of what someone else's energy is trying to convey to you, communicate to you, and you start to firmly look at what is happening within your energy as you are around different people and situations, that's when you're going to start to get the answers that you seek. So it's kind of calling it all back inwards. Now, we are in Mercury retrograde right now. We also have Jupiter moving retrograde in the sign of Pisces on the 20th of the month. Now, Jupiter and Saturn both moving through Aquarius in the first part of this month has had a firm emphasis in and around relationships for you. And that Six of Swords may mean a lot of the emotional release that's taking place by way of what's happening with certain connections in your life. And really what those planets have been doing for you in the first few months of 21 is helping you to put new foundations in place. And as we move into retrograde season, you're going to start to establish where there are weak points, where there are things that you need to shore up or really work on, both within yourself, but also within those important dynamics in your life. And, you know, where we have been sort of blindly moving through and kind of ignoring or putting to the side or putting things off, this is going to be the opportunity to really address things. But part of that's going to require this kind of journey and quality. It really is your rite of passage. And your Six of Cups, again, you know, just further enhancing this idea of us needing to sort of look back before we move forward. Now, for me, the Fool has this sense of let's just go, let's just do it. And yet I also have this kind of cautionary note that comes through and says, let's be a little bit methodical about some of the ways in which we are looking at things through this month. And in fact, that could play out in all sorts of ways, because what you might start to find is that things are automatically happening. You know, maybe they're getting agreed on behalf of you because you've not really been in the game or part of the conversation. Maybe there's like agreements or auto renewals on things that you purchase, subscriptions, and all sorts of things that I feel are just happening without your engagement in it. And so there's this requirement through this month for you to get really clear and be very aware of the details of your life and make sure that you are an active participant in it and people aren't just deciding what's best for you, what's right for you. Now, because there's such a flood of information that's coming through, and I suspect part of that is going to dig up for you, a little bit of an archaeological dig happening through this month of June, some emotions, some feelings, and some reflections on experiences that you've had in different types of situations. Now, the reason some of these might be coming to the surface so poignantly and at times kind of almost getting in the way of progress. I feel like I've got your energy, Leo, where you're about to say yes, you're about to sign on the dotted line, you're kind of really clear and absolutely firm in what it is that you want, and all of a sudden there's like this little sort of kickback energy that says, but what about this? Or just a reminder. Maybe it's a person, maybe it's like a memory, maybe it's just a little doubt creeping in. And I want you to kind of be aware that it is somewhat a test that's coming through, I feel, with this, just to show you not only how far you've come, but also to give you the opportunity to really take this life as your own and to claim it and to start doing things that are right for you. Now, on the 14th, we've got Saturn squaring Uranus again. This is the second of the trilogy of these dates in 2021. Think back to what was going on the 17th of February this year, and then the third one's going to be the 24th of December. It is a provocative, challenging aspect, this Saturn squaring Uranus, and this push-pull energy could really feel like it's coming in to kind of uproot something. That can kind of knock us off our game and definitely cause a little bit of tension both within and around us. However, you should already have an indication of what this theme is by what was going on in and around February time. And again, what we're looking at here is that, you know, if you're not writing this chapter of your life intentionally in the present, in the now, then what ends up happening is that you're just constantly rewriting and reading back on old chapters over and over and over again. And it puts you into that self-critique and that judgmental and that really sort of disconnected energy, because you're not meeting the energy of the now. You keep moving backwards to try to either recapture or reacquaint yourself with something. And even though it might have value by way of some of the soul work that you're doing, spending too long in that kind of a vibrational pattern is definitely going to see you being stuck. So remember, this aspect of powerful preparation wants to propel you forward, and that's going going to do really beautiful things for some of the relationships and some of the ideas and inspirations that want to come your way. All these number sixes coming through wants to give a better balance of energy exchange in your life, and that does require some powerful change and transformational energy. So death comes forth in this June reading because there is this beautiful sense of transmutation of so much of the energy that's kind of held you back and pinned you down, Leo. And what we're looking at here is that the exposing by way of that eclipse energy, and sometimes quite starkly and at times definitely harshly, none of us kind of escape sometimes the tremors that come through that seismic shift of the eclipse season, does leave you in no doubt. It leaves you in no doubt with what is ready to depart from your life and what really you are trying to lament by way of energy to your detriment at this time. So we have closure, we have a culmination, we have a point of powerful transformational shift that's coming in, and it is necessary because what's set to come next as we make our way through the end of June and into your own solar returns, and we've got Venus coming into your sign on the 27th, is this just beautiful explosion of new kind of like, it's like new dreams and like new things that all of a sudden, like, you never realized the intensity with which you wanted them. You never realized how much you were capable of. You never realized how much more there was for you. And I just have this excitement that's like building. And so part of this preparation time in the month of June means that we have to make sure that we're kind of cutting the dead wood and just allowing some of the energy that's sort of been with us for a long time. It doesn't really have anything new to teach us at this point. What is the weak link? That's where we're ready for this to kind of be shown to ourselves so that we can actually allow that blossoming to start to take place. So as we move further into June, the sun is going to come into the sign of Cancer. And of course, that's your 12th house of release, of, deep, profound healing and an activation of some deeper subconscious work that's going to be coming to the surface. We then move into the solstice energy as well. So in the northern hemisphere, the longest day of the year, in the southern hemisphere, the shortest. And as the sun stands still, you too take a moment to just deeply reflect and assess where you now find yourself at this point in the year, Leo. And I think there's a waiting and there's a recognition that some of the investment that you've made energetically perhaps hasn't paid off as fully as you'd anticipated or expected it to by this time. Now, that might be by way of, in a specific relationship. It could be in your health and well-being and changes that you've been making in your lifestyle. It may be from an abundance perspective, what's going on in your career, your work, or your financial story. But regardless, what Spirit want to say in this instance is, this is only part of the story. This is part of the story. And actually there's an aspect of this deeper release that comes through Cancerian season that's going to rebalance things as we hit that solstice. And on the same day, we have this beautiful Venus trining Neptune. Now, Neptune is also just about to move retrograde as well on the 25th, but ahead of that, we have this poignant moment where we get to really like tap in to some of our deeper hopes and the imaginative kind of energy that's showing us this is what life could be. And it isn't false hope. It's actually like it's given to me as if you're like really grounding into your goals with a much keener sense of like wanting to kind of actualize things, so you're not just sitting back daydreaming, although that's absolutely a beautiful part of the equation. But there's something about just like, what do I actually need to change on a practical level in order to realize some of these things for myself? And I think that's why it's coming in so profoundly next to the guide of death, because that ultimately, in order to bring about and affect change at the kind of level that you want to see it for yourself at this point in the year, it is going to require some pretty big decisions for you. And that means, that we have to kind of have that really honest, real talk with ourselves about what isn't working, or where the progress hasn't been realized. And it's not to say that it's not going to show up karmically in other areas of your life. So it's not like then beating yourself up and saying, I've wasted so much time on this person or this project, and and then feeling perhaps guided or inspired to move in a different direction. All of that energy that you brought to bear in a specific way is still going to be supportive and come back to kind of help project you and build momentum in the pathways that you're meant to be in. But like we said, this aspect of kind of high emotion and the kind of conflicting, swirling chaos that can sometimes pervade around this eclipse season also sees you kind of finding space to just take stock yourself about what that means for you. And even if you are reviewing from a sort of observer type place, so you're maybe watching other people go through some extraordinarily difficult circumstances, but what's coming from that is a deep assessment of, well, what would I do if I were in that position? Or, maybe thinking back to times when you have experienced something similar. So regardless if it's touching you really personally or if you're just kind of caught up or reviewing it, this kind of witnessing theme is going to be really strong for you this month, Leo. And I think part of that, in terms of allowing some of your own growth, is also wanting to bring about a deeper sense of trust within yourself. And that means that from a witness perspective, sometimes we just need to be there for other people. We need to trust that they are doing and saying the right things for themselves, and that they don't necessarily need our advice. They don't need our input at this time, in the same way that you need to kind of figure things out from your own intuitive standpoint and not take on too much outside counsel. That Ten of Swords can indicate that surrounding you, there may be this kind of mentality of people going, poor me, woe is me, why has this happened to me? And I kind of feel like, maybe it's getting mirrored to you, and it's also an invitation to reflect on where you're picking that up, and that is part of your own story. Or even if you are feeling that yourself, although I have a sense it really is about people and the group dynamic around you, as in Gemini season, we're really lighting up that 11th house of community, of groups, of friendships. And so, you might be finding yourself sort of swirling around this kind of melting pot of people just feeling like victimized in their own life right now. And even that in and of itself is going to teach you some valuable lessons of like, what do I want my attitude to be moving forward this month? Like, what can I do that is about helping support me to kind of claim my life as my own and not be, in this kind of blind energy where I feel like I'm on autopilot and I'm just seeing things playing out through other people's lenses, So there's a real recognition about that coming through. And I feel if you are through the course of June kind of feeling a little bit let down, or there are some energies that feel like they have acted in surprising ways towards you, I think it's also going to be a pretty strong indication of what you're going to do by way of boundaries. Now, let's remember, boundaries aren't about punishment. They're not about being mean or being cruel. They're just about valuing and respecting yourself to like a whole new level. Your Two of Wands is coming through because there's, this emphasis around planning and preparation that's going to be so important in the month of June, because what comes through for you and what you decide and what you take from the flood of information and the doors that are going to start to open for you this month is just like this really powerful catalyst for what's going to come next over the next 3 to 4 months for you. I see you kind of taking something and it just like taking seed within you. And especially when we come into that full moon in Capricorn, because Mercury will have then moved direct. And, the beautiful thing about the Capricorn full moon is it's just so grounding for us, that nice earth energy. And it really helps us to reflect on the goals and how we're going to do something, how we're going to get there, how we're going to achieve it. And just really taking care of that sense of both emotional stability and abundance within your life, and just finding the endurance and the resilience to make it happen. And your Two of Wands, look, she's sitting holding the world right now, and she's looking out from this beautiful higher vantage point. And again, the narrative that will have taken place during this Gemini Sagittarius eclipse. And remember, this is all activating in our thought forms. It's the conversation that we're having between our ego self and our higher self. And what we see here is that there is this determination to want better for yourself, to want more for yourself, and not really accepting less than that. And if somebody comes along and says, well, here's what you've always done, or here's what I think you would like, or this is what would be good for you, or you won't like this, you should do it this way. I just kind of see you being, enough is enough. I'm not sort of walking that path anymore. It just doesn't land with me. It doesn't resonate with me. And I have to be on this journey of discovery. I have to go on this rite of passage for myself and find where I want to anchor myself, anchor my ship. And part of that might feel like you're going to be a bit of an island at times, even though there's a tremendous amount of connection and sociability that's emerging through June. You could find yourself in the middle of kind of group dynamics and lots of people around you and still feeling like, I don't feel a part of this, or I feel a little bit disconnected from this. And it's just a deeper sort of transitionary energy that's coming in to help you realize where you're meant to be and some of the changes that you're supposed to be making. So don't be concerned or sort of disconcerted by that when it starts to come through. Your Ten of Wands is bringing something to a point of fruition. And I think anything that feels really onerous or heavy or dutiful and that you feel obligated to, you are definitely going to be taking some time to figure out, is this worth it? Is it worth it? And I think for many of you on a personal level, that there's going to be some different answers that surface around that. What may well come up for you is, yes, it is, but I still need to redefine things so that they are more on my terms. Or there may be this aspect of you thinking, actually, it really is no longer worth my time, energy, or investment, and therefore I'm taking the decision at this moment to move forward in a different way. Of course, whatever we want, sometimes we have to be prepared to commit and invest and put the energy in. And there is something about all these beautiful flowers kind of in blossom now saying, you've maybe got to a stage where something is working, but do you now have enough time to actually enjoy it, Leo? And I think that question is also going to reverberate quite heavily for you through the month, because sometimes we can get so focused on achieving the goal that when we get there, it's just like we don't know what to do with ourselves. It's like, okay, I just need to keep going instead of stopping to smell the roses, instead of stopping to find that sense of balance. And that's really what that solstice energy wants to invite you to do as well. Take more time to celebrate your accomplishments and start to release yourself from the commitments and the responsibilities that just feel a little bit too heavy at this point in time, yeah? Okay, so we've got the energy of the King of Swords coming through, air sign, Aquarius, Gemini, or Libra, but certainly again this invitation to start to think very cerebrally about what is happening in your life and observing, but not necessarily taking the time to kind of get too emotionally flooded by that information. Now, Venus in Cancer certainly wants us to feel all the feels, and it can bring about a certain tenderness and sensitivity, which also means that your reaction to anybody who's coming across fairly directly might be slightly misunderstood or taken in the wrong way, where it just kind of triggers that soft underbelly within us. And so just be aware of that a little bit. I have a sense of you just feeling a little bit oversensitive at different times through the month. But look here, she's holding this needle and the thread is all lit up here. So it's like we need to be methodical this month. We need to look at all of the details of things. We need to go over agreements. We need to look at what makes up our life and what we are investing our energy, our money, our time, our emotions into, and kind of have that deep dissect and that deep life edit and review. Something that is emerging from that is going to be exceptionally helpful for you in the answer about what to do next to kind of level up or to make a really significant permanent change for yourself. And remember, Venus moves into your sign on the 27th, which is going to make it far easier to start to connect and move into that much more natural energy place for you to start to have meaningful conversations about your values, surrounding yourself in things that actually make you feel good. I have a sense though with the Ten of Wands, Ten of Swords kind of surrounding this King of Swords that, you know, there may be something or someone that feels overly dramatic, but there is the kind of a slight cool or coldness or emotional detachment that's taking place here. And maybe it's you that needs to emotionally detach, or maybe it's an experience that you're getting from someone else. Again, if that is the case, I think there's so much energy here that's saying, okay, how do I use this? And what's happening to kind of readdress and redirect myself towards things that are important to me, that are going to nourish my soul moving forward. Okay, let's take a look and see how these oracle cards just want to join this conversation for you, Leo. Fortune's wheel, luck and right timing. Beautiful. This is the thing with eclipses, right? Sometimes they can bring about these powerful endings and changes suddenly. But at the same time, they are fueled with opportunity and fate and synchronicity, and often things that we've never anticipated or thought about or even envisaged for ourselves can come to light and can make their way into our pathway. And that's why it's so important for us to be in an energy of openness and release, so that when these things do show up, we're ready and prepared to say yes. And really that's what your guide of the Fool is telling you more than anything through the course of this month, Leo. It's like, you know, you have to be ready to say yes in June. You have to be. And even if situations feel complex, even if it feels like, I don't know how this is going to work, I don't know how I can possibly say okay to this. It's kind of going against everything that you know is of my life right now. There is still this sense of like, let the universe work out, you know, all of the ways in which this can come to you. You be ready, you know, from a timing perspective to just say, yes, I claim it, it's mine. Let's do this. So very adventurous feeling. And like I said, this rising energy that's going to be building and building as we start to move towards your own solar returns next month. So let's have a look at the astrology card for you. Okay, we have the card of Gemini, curiosity, intellect, and networking. This idea of just being curious about yourself, witnessing your language, witnessing the conversations and the connections that are starting to happen, and the way that relationships are transforming, but also where you want to start to make the changes and shore up things that haven't been flowing in the right way for you. But this explosion of creativity and creative endeavors is going to light up anything that you want to do online, anything that you want to talk about, that you want to publish, that you want to share. There's this wonderful sense of being able to make social media and connecting by way of conversations and in person like really work for you. So there's an advancement and a leveling up that's coming in. Again, your beautiful butterflies showing up through this reading, just indicating this rite of passage that you're on. You're coming into your time, Leo. So what does that mean for you? Where do you have to start saying yes to things? Okay, so this is just a general reading for the month of June. If you'd like to join me for the extended version, we talk for another 20 minutes or so, Leo. We're just going to go into these messages a little bit deeper, and just going to invite you to think about a question that might not have come up in the main part of the reading. And we'll just pull a couple of cards for you just now. You can find the link for my extended readings in the description box and the comment section underneath. And just a way to support my channel and receive additional insight. So thank you very much if you're looking to join me. So I'm just going to clarify now this main reading. So just beginning with the energy of the Fool. Again, we've got the Seven of Pentacles coming up here. So very important time for you to reflect on the harvest and what you're expecting to come back. Four of Swords as well, I like as this very restorative sort of quiet time, you know, and remember retrograde season is such an invitation for introspection and to reconnect with our intuition, rest time. So we've got the Knight of Swords coming in and the Ten of Pentacles here as well. A lot of energies that are on the move, but again, this sort of conflicted moment of decision and crossroads energy coming in. More sixes coming through for you, so really strong emphasis and theme around balance and choices. Knight of Wands coming up as well. Messengers with these knights. What are they delivering? Truth, clarification on a situation for you. Much needed, I think. Yes, justice, balance again. 10 of Wands. Interesting. Getting to the heart of the matter with that 8 of Wands and the 7 of Pentacles. You may also find some really interesting job opportunities, career opportunities making their way towards you. Chariot coming through here. Nine of Swords. Fire energy here with the King of Wands showing up. Yeah, going back to sort of January, February time, I'm looking at that snowdrop, that Saturn square in Uranus, 17th of February. A little bit of a revisitation to something there. King and Queen of Pentacles coming through here, and the 6 of Wands. Oh, nice. You've got success written all over something coming in, Leo. Okay, you've got all 4 knights showing up in your reading this month. Interesting. Okay, Leo, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me. I wish you a beautiful month of June. Hope you've enjoyed. If you have, please do drop me a like and a comment. And if you're joining me for the extended, we'll carry this conversation on there. Thank you. Bye for now.